After being pushed to her limit by Omega Valorant under the new leadership of Omega Viper, Alpha Sage finally breaks and decides to seek help at her monastery back in China. The monastery has grown much since she left, and the latest patch will make it, or at least its training grounds, into a map known as Summit. The trailer starts with Sage lying down on a chair, surrounded by machines, with a huge chunk of jade hovering over her. This room is known as a resonance bath or a resonance chamber. Valorant released a minigame on Discord, which gave us some info about it. Through the map trailer and the minigame, we get to know that the resonance bath helps counteract the effects of crystallization. It helps Sage gain access to her powers again. The existence of such a mechanism is interesting. This possibly hints at how this isn't the first time crystallization has become a problem. The jade chunk above her is glowing, which means that it's probably infused with radianite. Sage has to go through a training regime that includes meditation, focus, and lots of sessions in the resonance bath. Alpha Valorant knows that Omega is coming, so Sage is under a lot of pressure to get well in time before they make their move. We have other agents from the protocol accompanying Sage to her academy, namely Mix, Sky, Reyna, and ISO. Some members of the protocol think that Mix and Sky accompanying her to the academy will help them relax and learn with her. Fun fact, the Discord minigame tells us that ISO is also an alumni of this academy. There is a picture of him as a child in Sage's room. Sage has previously commented about his mastery over his powers, calling them most impressive. Maybe the reason he has such a firm grasp on his powers is because of his time in the academy. It's interesting that even though ISO probably learned the same values and teachings as Sage, he still ended up being an assassin for the Scions of Hourglass. His profession or time as an assassin was against his will, but still wonder how that came to be. We see a serpent slithering towards Sage as she recuperates from her sessions. This is most likely placebo, but I think the snake is growing in size. It seemed smaller in the resonance chamber, growing bigger as she meditates, and growing bigger still. And as Sage finally faces them, she convulses and suffocates. She is extremely weak and can't find her footing. It is apparent that the decrystallization process is a horrifying and terrible experience. Through the jade, we see reflections of various agents. The first one is Raze. I'm pretty sure this is from the YV fight cinematic. I talked about this frame in one of my previous videos. Raze looks distant because in this moment of the cinematic, Killjoy had passed away in her arms. The second one is probably Reyna. Out of all four reflections, I'm the least sure about this one. Looks like Reyna from the YV fight back cinematic during the Omega assault on her sanctuary. The third one is Sova. This is clear through the cuts on his eye socket. Well, that and the glowing eye. This seems to coincide from the YV fight back cinematic, but that would make it a reflection of Omega Sova. And Phoenix comes in fourth. His reflection matches well with this frame of the YV fight cinematic as he ponders on KG's death and his own internal conflict. Nevertheless, I don't suppose the exact origins of the reflections are relevant. Now, the snake can represent Omega Viper. With her continued assaults on Alpha, she has become a massive threat to Sage's friends and family. But with respect to the reflections and Sage's current location, maybe the snake represents the toll she has been incurring. The cost of using her powers to save her allies and fight against her enemies. This would also explain other factors like the increasing size of the snake. Just like the accumulating toll, the snake grows bigger too, and the fact that it's made out of jade. What was previously claimed by Fade and Omen has been confirmed in the recent patch. Sage admits to Brimstone that she did not complete her studies and willingly ignores certain principles of her power. The evidence available to us all but confirms that these principles have to be related to the natural balance. Another thing of note is Sage's eyes. They glow red during the beginning of her confrontation. This might just be the red eye effect, which makes eyes glow due to low lighting levels, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the eyes of the snake also glow red for a moment. I think this establishes a connection between the snake and Sage. The snake is not an external entity or an enemy, it's a consequence of her actions, that is, dismissing the concepts of the natural balance and the teachings that were supposed to be implemented. The snake is a part of her. In a way, the snake is her. Now, this confrontation with the snake can be symbolic, purely for the purposes of the map trailer. But what if it's not? What if dismissing the principles of the monastery's teachings comes with a punishment? What if the individual has to fight a monster of their own making, created as a consequence of their own selfishness and folly? How cool would that be? The mechanisms that Sage uses to eliminate the snake is a safety door. The Discord minigame gives us a hint that Sage might need to know how to use it. In the lore, its purpose is to act as a hazard containment system that quarantines uncontrolled radiant power flares. And in game, the safety doors are a new map mechanic, killing anyone smushed under it. During the decrystallization process and after the snake has been defeated, most of her crystals shed as well. The jade chunk isn't glowing anymore. Maybe because the radianite was somehow used up in the process. What's important is that Sage's crystallization isn't completely reverted. We get to see Sage in a new outfit. There are various frames that show that some crystallization remains. Her core problem is yet to be addressed. If she continues using her powers again, I think she might develop more crystallization and might have to undergo the same process again. This process is a horrifying experience after all. But what's worse is that Sage might go through with it. Sage is nothing if not stubborn. In the last few patches, we have seen her insist on helping with missions, pushing herself to a point that Brimstone had to implement mandatory bed rest. Not only is this bad for her own health, it also made Alpha Valorant play right into the hands of Omega Valorant. Pushing Alpha Sage to her limit was exactly what Omega Viper wanted in the first place. And on top of that, it took Sage 2 patches to finally come out and tell Brimstone that she might have a way to fix things by visiting the monastery. I don't know how much time passes in the Alpha Omega universe relative to the number of patches released by the Valorant team. But what matters is that Sage didn't bring up the idea early on, which again shows her stubborn side. I understand that Sage wants to aid Valorant in their fight against Omega, but in her desire to help people, she often forgets about self-preservation. The Discord minigame, the recent patch, and the map trailer confirm that Omega Valorant is coming. If Omega Viper needs a map of the Alpha Monastery, there is a possibility that either the monastery does not look the same in Omega, is somehow destroyed, or inaccessible. Due to the environmental crises happening in Omega, this probably isn't a bad guess. When you think about it, Omega Viper knows about the existence of the monastery. She probably wanted to help Omega Sage in a similar manner. Maybe the combat that Omega Sage is in right now comes from the monastery. Or maybe the monastery can't help Omega Sage in the current stages of her crystallization. Or maybe the monastery is inaccessible. Is Omega Viper holding a helmet, by the way? I've never seen her wear a helmet before. Does she own a bike? It would be crazy to own a bike and not tell Yoru, Harbor, and Brimstone. She could be a part of the Omega biker gang. Let's talk about other details. The first one are the Auroras. The Discord minigame tells us that they are created by structures present in the monastery, known as tuning forks. The tuning forks act as a catalyst and help speed up power awakening, helping people get a better grip or access to their powers. Sage mentions that this place should act as a multiplier for Sky and Sage as well. I wonder if Summit takes in international students. Since the tuning forks are a special structure we haven't heard of before, what are the chances that this place is was an Astral Guardian site, just like Lotus located in the Western Ghats of India? The Scions of Hourglass were able to destroy Lotus in Alpha Earth, but maybe they had a hard time doing so to the monastery. One, because it's surrounded by mountains, so approach is probably hard. And two, the monastery is filled with radiance, so it's probably impossible. Sage states that the Auroras help the old masters or founders discover this place. We also get a live view of a tuning fork in-game. Due to the presence of the tuning forks, the Auroras are commonplace in Summit. We see various sequences of Auroras adorning the beautiful sky. Sage and Sky are meditating together. We have seen cards with similar poses related to Sky and Sage before this. I think the boot camp card tries to hint at Sky and Sage giving the monastery an early visit. Or maybe it's just a normal meditation session somewhere else. Omen often talks about Sky and her unrealized potential. He hints at the fact that Sky could become a really scary individual. The tuning folks in the academy could definitely help with the training. I wonder if the current arc will help her realize some of that, or maybe some other time in the future. Speaking of the old masters or founders, we get to have a look at them. Looks like they were proficient in controlling a wide variety of elements. A dev diary from the official channel shows that there were 5 founders. In the map trailer, we can only see 3. The dev diary talks about their inspiration, different lore elements, and symbology associated with Summit, so you should definitely check it out. They talk about interesting stories, like how zombies or the undead can only walk in a straight line. Therefore, bridges are usually constructed in a zigzag pattern, which is pretty fun to know. From left to right, these look like the standards element like wood, fire, water, earth, and air or wind. But the form or shape of the elements in the statues looks quite rigid. Take fire and water, for example. The representation of these elements looks really constricted and compact, and I don't know any of the standard elements being purple. What if they're supposed to be gemstones? Let's talk about them going left to right. Maybe the leaf growing out of the first element is supposed to be emerald or jade. Maybe fire is represented by ruby, water represented by sapphire or lapis lazuli, earth represented by amethyst, and air represented by quartz, diamonds, or pearls. Doing some research, I found out that gemstones are sometimes associated with various elements in Chinese mythology or culture. For example, even though some accounts may vary, jade is associated with nature or earth. Jade is said to have nurturing and healing properties, a priceless gem with the ability to give life. So it makes sense that there is a leaf growing out of it in the statue. Maybe each disciple trains into a category or element based on certain conditions. I wonder if students are born with elemental powers or whether they cultivate it. How cool would it be if this place cultivated radiance outside of phenomenons like first light? Iso's powers are not related to any element, as he manipulates the form of radiant energy itself. So the school is also known to help non-elemental radiant powers. Speaking of Iso, during the beginning of the trailer, he seems to be instructing Reina about the layout of this place, which makes sense. They have to be ready for an Omega incursion at all times. We also see floating rocks around the monastery. We have seen something similar on Ascent, a consequence of the Venice incident during the Duelist cinematic. I suppose students have to practice pottery as a part of their studies. Maybe this frame is a showcase for the pottery made by current and graduate students. Through the Discord minigame, we get to know that Sage also made teapots. Multiple jade teapots can be seen on her bookshelf. As Sage reminisces about her time in the academy, she mentions a close friend that is now the head of the monastery. They were responsible for turning it into something special. We get a look into the headmaster's office from the dev diary. We are told that the purpose of creating these teapots is to learn precision and control. These teapots located in the office represent Sage's skill progression. The head might make an appearance in future cinematics. I wonder what the head of the monastery has to say about Sage leaving her studies incomplete. Lastly, we see various animals that are linked to Chinese mythology. We see a snake entwined with a tortoise and a dragon. These are 2 of the 4 guardians of cardinal directions, the first being the black tortoise or the black warrior of the north, and the second being the azure dragon of the east. We also see various positive messages present in the monastery. The first one is a school of goldfish. A goldfish represents wealth, success, and happiness. I wonder if it's a hint towards Sage's future. The second one is a circular symbol that represents longevity and a healthy life. We see this symbol on 2 different instances. I'm excited for future lore items and cinematics. I wonder if any of my theories and predictions will land. And once again, thank you for watching.